We welcome on a very special guest. If you're listening to the pod, you know who it is. It's Billy Liucci from TexAgs. Luch, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all? Thanks for having me.
We're good. We're good. And Luch, just for starters, it's an honor to have you join us. Whenever we first started this 4 years ago, we always kind of just joked around about having you on, but this is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, hey, and you guys, I know we've been talking about it forever. So like I was saying before we went on, I was like, before I do any other podcasts out there in the A&M space, I was like, I know we've been talking about this for it feels like 2 years. So I was like, and no, I did not block y'all on TexAgs. I don't even know the password to that account, and everybody up here would laugh if they knew because they're like, he doesn't even know how to get onto that. So
We don't take it personally. We've fought many battles online over the years, so.
Same.
y'all
But
know that.
we were going to get into that. So I mentioned to you when we were going back and forth in the DMs, but I just wanted to say for the listeners, we've got a short list of white whales that we've been tracking for people that we want to get on our interview. So I'm going to share the list because Billy Liucci was on the list, obviously. Aggie Media royalty. So the rest of the list goes as follows: Mike Evans, Myles Garrett, Dan Campbell, Johnny Manziel, Mike Elko, Von Miller, and Donald Trump.
Wow. I'm honored. Absolute honor. Yeah, those are that's a list right there. And I feel you because I did that long form podcast with Dan a couple weeks ago and trying to do more of those. And it's like a list, and you just you know how it goes. You're at the mercy of everyone's schedule. And when it's people like that on that list, except me, those are like really busy people if you don't catch them at the right time of year. Me, I'm a little more attainable.
Do you think we're missing anybody on the list?
Oh yeah, I would say add some names to that list.
Oh, I have a way longer list, but it's tiered
Oh,
out.
white whale. You're talking about the white whale
This
list.
is white whales. Yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, do you go Billy Gillespie? When's the last time an Aggie like that? Those are some stories right there. Or do
Yeah.
you
Jaworski,
go?
Lane, Tannehill, got to be up there. Swope.
Yep.
Those are
What
long shot category.
you could go back all the way back to Dante Hall, Quentin Coriat, if you want, maybe the best defensive play in A&M history. So that you could start hitting. So I know y'all got Jace. He would be on there for baseball.
He was the man.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the funniest.
Yeah, we've got a long list and we've got some stuff scheduled for this year to follow. But yeah, this is a big one. So we're excited, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
So we want to take a little bit of a different direction with this. We tend to do with AgKnocks and show people kind of the side of Billy that no one really knows. And we kind of just want to go over your story.
Cool. I'll give you the short version until I got to A&M, but just born in New York, Yonkers, New York, and moved to Sugar Land when it was way out in the country when I was a little kid, like, kindergarten age, and grew up my whole life in Houston, basically, Sugar Land, and Kempner High School. And I was I think I applied I was A&M, Texas, Rice, Columbia, and USC. Those were I had no idea, no ag. We moved from New York, no Aggies in my family, and that was the pick. And I'll tell you how it ended up being A&M. I wanted to do engineering, so I was going to study engineering. So, A&M and Texas both fit that category. I came to Bonfire with a bunch of my buddies that were about, from my grade that were going to A&M, good friends of mine. One of them I lived with freshman year. We're still best buddies, but came to Bonfire. I had an absolute blast, did all that, went to the house parties when I was in high school. And the next night or a couple nights later, I'm watching A&M Texas with family friends, worked with my dad, and I think their daughter at the time was a freshman cheerleader at Texas. And so the family was like, whoever was watching A&M Texas. And I wasn't trying to just root against the house, but I had just been there and I was like, damn, I'm watching Kyle Field and I'm going, this is really cool. I'm so pissed I didn't stay and go to that game. First play of the game, Marcus Buckley, pick six off of Peter Gardere. And I was they panning through the crowd. Everybody's going nuts. And I said, you know what? I don't need to overcomplicate this. I love that place. That's where I'm going. So technically, you could say that A&M football, whether it be between Bonfire and that game and that rivalry is what made me go, I'm done. We're going to Texas A&M. And the thing is, it was way more of my buddies too. Like it was all of us. So, and as soon as I got here, living in McKinnis Hall, and from like the first week of school, I was like, this was what a pick I made. Little did I know where that was going to take me.
Yeah, I mean that's the real Texas test is you pick your school based on football at the time you got to know and what you want to be around every Saturday in the fall. So I don't blame you. That's why we're all here too. So I think the question we want to know, and just to take us back, right? We're in a dorm room in College Station in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
Shooting the shit with Dan Campbell, Shane Leckler. We watched the McAfee interview recently.
Yeah.
Talk us through, how did you end up in that situation, first of all, and what was that experience like? What were the guys like behind closed doors?
It's funny. I just had breakfast this morning with Hunter Goodwin and his family and his wife, who is part of this story. So like a girl that I grew up with lived with Hunter's now wife. At the time they had just started dating, and we're all hanging out at that house, and I had already known a couple of the guys on that team, and I was living with them in a little 4-bedroom house we were all living in. This was after the dorms, so after freshman year, and just Hunter and I had some mutual buddies, and just all hanging out together. He and I became good friends, and then next thing you know, he's like hosting these couple of recruits, and it's like Dan Campbell and Steve McKinney, and Dan from it was literally like he said in that deal, I'm one of his oldest friends, because it was we hung out on his visit. One of my best friends hosted him. We went out with those guys and stuff, and been friends ever since. So then fast forward, and it you know how it is. I don't know if you could compare it to like whether it's a fraternity, a sorority, the core, or just your big friend group, whether it was from campus, or it was just like I was living with these couple dudes, and then it was, next thing I know, it was me and Dan and Steve and our buddy. I got to mention our boy Brad Crowley, and then Steve left to go to the NFL, and then Seth had finished his freshman year. He moved in with us, and then Crowley left, and then Leckler moved in with us, and that was our kind of core group. Were those four: Dan, Seth, and Shane, and it was a blast. Like that was '98. So I'm graduating with an ID degree, and I'm getting ready to. I'd interviewed for one job, and this guy who I interviewed with, his son is an intern at TexAgs right now, and his dad always jokes, Kirk Mikulik. They offered me a job. I wasn't ready to just take the first job interview I did. I didn't take the job, and he always jokes that TexAgs wouldn't exist, and I wouldn't be me had I taken that job, which who knows? I may have been a lot wealthier. I don't know. It could have been the better path. We'll never know. I might be married with a family and a bunch more money. Who knows? It worked out, in my opinion, perfectly, and his too, because he really enjoys TexAgs. But I'm interviewing, and then there's a guy named Doug Walker that owns this print publication, the Maroon and White Report, and I get a call. Hey, Doug's taking an SID job at TCU. And to send it full circle, he went from TCU to Miami to Notre Dame to Alabama, was Nick Saban's like PR manager there for a while. Came back to A&M, ended up living in one of my rental houses. So that was like the full circle. But Doug is amazing. He was a legend, one of the first to do this. They dropped off a computer in my 2-bedroom apartment. It was the 4 of us living in there. And I'm sitting there typing, not knowing how to do the application that the newsletter was in so bad that I would just delete old stories from old episodes and just click and start typing in over the stories. Like I had no clue. Getting harassed by those dudes to walk across the street and go to the tap. Hurry up, let's go, hurry up. I remember I called Alan Cannon when I wanted to do my first interview, like you guys are doing, right? Imagine calling an SID and being like, hey, I want to interview this player. And no, we don't know who you are. You can't interview. Well, they're sitting right here. I'm living with them, so I'm going to interview them. Well, you can't do that. Okay, well, I'm doing it. And so I joke with AC, who just retired last month, and we had a long time friendship over the years. He's a pro, but I joke with him all the time. Like, we definitely got off to the bad start. RC thought I was an agent. RC thought I was an agent because I was around all his players, and he thought I was like a runner for an agent. And that was back when that was the most taboo thing. And I was like, Yeah, I mean, I did have that moment where I wanted to be like Jerry Maguire, but it was everything that everyone in the media thinks or people at A&M think of me, like I came up through this thing from nothing, no reputation, no one, actually people like actively working against me, not them in particular, but just in general, like what's this he's doing the internet? No, we don't trust the internet. Message boards? No. TexAgs? No, we hate that. So today looking back, like you guys are young enough that you probably don't think that, but it was an uphill climb and turning down your A&M degree and not taking jobs. I told my dad I was going to do it that fall of '98, just running this publication. He goes, I don't give a shit. Like you're done. Like I'm done paying for it. You graduated. Like do whatever you want. And it's funny because he's proud of it now, but at the time it was that's just Billy dicking off, trying to stay in college. And
Yeah,
we did it. We did it.
No, and that's how it always is. It starts out as like people are making funny. Like it's gone the same way for us. Not to say that we're as successful or we're going to get to the point where you guys are at, but I mean, when you start something, people are always going to talk and people are always going to laugh about it. But it's like, you just got to keep grinding and see where it leads. So you mentioned Shane Leckler. I have a question for you. My dad actually used to be a writer for the Raiders back when he played for them, and he was like an all-pro. So he had some crazy stories about like Janikowski and Leckler showing up to practice. The rumor has it that Leckler could drink anyone under a table. I want to just confirm if that's true.
I'm going to be gracious to because he gave me the McAfee shout out. I think Janikowski is the one that could drink anyone under the table and I met him finally at Leckler's retirement party, and it was like we knew each other because there's so many times that he'd have me on speakerphone and they're 2 hours behind and I'm a night owl. They would call me and I mean, he would be in like, I guess glasses twice this size full of just straight vodka.
Oh, God.
And he was really Janikowski was like this huge Britney Spears fan. And one of my good buddies is her cousin. And at that time, that was like such a big deal. And Leckler, like, I think embellished the truth. And like, I had like a signed picture of her that my buddy like gave me as a joke one time. But I was like, no, you think this is a joke. I actually love this. It's amazing. But he, like, I think Janikowski would go to like Britney concerts by himself. Like he loved her back then. And so I don't know about Shane drinking anybody under the table, but look, I bet he can now because he just sits down there in Rockport and fishes all the time. But we had a hell of a house. We had so much fun, and the dynamic there was absolutely hilarious between me, Dan, and Shane, and then Seth being like little brother that moved in, because we knew him when he was playing at Westlake with Drew Brees because Steve was one of our best friends. We used to call him Baby Huey. He was 15 years old, stronger. He'd come work out for like a couple weeks during the summer and be stronger than damn near like, all conference seniors on the offensive line, and Seth was stronger. So it was just funny the way everybody picked on each other. And I think, guys, The Office gets a good dose of that sometimes, and it takes them a while to adjust, and they realize like, no, that's our love language. We pick on everybody and that's people don't get that sometimes on Twitter and stuff because you'll know how it is. You can joke or you can just be being an actual jackass, and it's the people we're just joking because it was all love. But damn, we were very hard on each other, and even to this day, like I can mention somebody to Dan, and he'll bring back up the same nicknames and same jokes, and I'll be eating with Matt Schobel, and he'll say, "Hey, be careful. He might transfer in the middle of dinner. You don't want him to quit on you, because he transferred, from A&M to TCU." So it was fun. I had a cool moment last week. I was with Jay Brooks. Do y'all remember the Jay Brooks he blocked about 12 kicks in his career, but there's one play that he was the blitzer that sacked Applewhite in the Bonfire game. He sacked, forced fumble, Gamble recovered it. He's a cop in Atlanta now, but he said, man, he was telling Nuno, we went to dinner, and he said, I remember sitting there with Billy, and just because Jay is that nice and he's just that good a friend, and we would sit there and fold these paper print newsletters and put a little round sticker on all of them. and pull off the address label, stick it, and we would just be sitting there watching TV or whatever, and those guys would be helping fold up the newsletter. So that's how little it was when it started, and then I bought it for 10 grand. I paid 10, Hunter paid 10, $20,000 total. And then we merged with Brandon and Josh, who were, I don't know if TexAgs was like, it was a site, it was a great community, not like it is today, but they were independent. And we said, hey, I've got content. You guys have an audience. I need to get off of print and fax email. And so we went 75-25. Eventually, with that money, a year or 2 years later, we bought out the investors. So then it was us four equal partner owners from there on.
So you were pretty much like the Adam Schefter of College Station from the start, basically just making connections, and that's how you kind of found your way in, which is so cool. I want to just go back real quick to Dan Campbell. So has he always been the guy we see on Hard Knocks in these press conferences? Like, has that always been his mentality?
1,000%. I don't care if it was like motivating us to stay up till the sun came up. Or if one of his teammates were leaving our house at the after party to, man, this is a team. Like this is how we win. We win games in the fall now. It's like, what, by staying out? Yeah. How many times are you going to stay out till the sun comes up with your brothers? Like, this is life. This is what it's all about. It's right, and now if he had to shame you and single somebody out, and a lot of times that would be Shane, because they were like, they had like a nice big brother, little brother relationship, even though I think, no, Shane was a year or two younger, but it didn't matter who it was, guys. This is Dan. He knew how to connect it'd be the four of us. It could be whoever on the football team. Like, he knew without trying, and there was nothing try hard about Dan, and there still isn't. Because at that level in the NFL, like, they sniff that out from a million miles away. In a college locker room, you guys all probably played sports like I did, like high school, who the try hard is, who the fake is, and who's just the real. And Dan is the realest person I've ever met. He hadn't changed at all. I took Richard up there. Richard's a huge Detroit Lions fan. I took Zane up there to a game last year against the Packers, and it was a Thursday night game, so we were able to go have breakfast the next morning. And Richard, imagine I was joking with him. I go, man, it's crazy. That would be like if I was 25 years old having breakfast with the head coach of my favorite sports team. Like, could you imagine? I didn't think about it like that, but Richard saw like the real Dan. I go, that we were leaving. He goes, is he always? I go, that he hasn't changed 1% ever. But he motivates because he cares about friendships. He cares about his teammates. He cares about the people that work for and with him. And you guys see it. Exactly what you see is what you get. And all this stuff, the biting kneecaps and the post-game speeches, and I mean, I'm telling you, that Applebee's commercial is Dan, 100%. Like, his sense of humor is that commercial, and like looking over the menu and talk, like, so no, he's exactly what you see. And so much so that I was going to a Metallica concert a few weeks ago, and I messaged him like a song. It was like Unforgiven. And I go, when's the last time you just played this as loud as you can and just let it rip? He's like, you really want to know? I said, yeah. He goes, this morning on the way to work at 5:30 a.m. I'm like, that's Dan. Of course you did.
We need to see that at Kyle Field locker room, maybe 10, 15 years down the road. It'd be real nice.
Oh, man. My thing with that, and you guys know, like, it was out there. People were going, what about Dan this time around? He's going to stay at Detroit, and I think, like, you say forever. I mean, he might have to move around in his career, but he will stay there until they don't want him, which, as we sit here today, it's like, how could that ever happen? But like, Dan is so grateful to that family for giving him his chance. So many teams turned him down because he wasn't, he didn't get the chance to be a play caller prior to that. They forget that he's in the room with Sean Payton and above, what's his name? What's the guy's name at LSU? That was so good that in 2019, Burrow's Joe Brady. Joe Brady was like a quality control. Like, it was an amazing offensive staff there in New Orleans, but he wasn't the play caller. So he kept getting up there and it's like, well, we're not going to hire a special teams coordinator that, I wouldn't say he's rough around the edges, but he doesn't care to be polished. Detroit gave him a chance and it was the perfect fit. And Dan is, of all the things I said about him, he's the most loyal dude you will ever meet. He's going to be loyal to that family, and his everyday wake up goal is to get that place a Super Bowl. So yeah, maybe one day, but I also think right now, unfortunately, with the state of like college football, there ain't a lot of NFL guys looking back to the college level going, man, I want to do that.
What do you mean? The hiring process was so easy this last go around.
Yeah, it was so smooth, right? I had a girl from Kentucky I met in Nashville at the SEC basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And like just with mutual friends, and we're all just hanging out on Broadway talking and just fun time, whatever. And then the next day, I see them again, the Kentucky contingent. This girl sees me from across the crowd. She's like, you. It's like, it was like the cat meme with the girl yelling at the cat, like, and I'm like the cat, like what? And she's like, you son of a bitch. She's like, you're Aggie. And I go, you knew that? She goes, no, you're Billy. I said, yeah, we introduced ourselves. And she was like, you're Liucci. And I said, yeah. She goes, you're the reason we still have Mark Stoops. I'm gonna kill you. She was joking, but it was hilarious because it clicked somewhere between us all at the bar the night before and seeing her the next day. She's like, oh, that's that guy. So yeah, real smooth coaching surge.
I think we owe you a collective thank you for that one.
Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down if Billy Liucci had a hand in that in the unhiring of Mark Stoops. It's an audio podcast. We won't say it. There's no video
here yet. It depends on what you call a hand. So I wasn't deliberately trying to do it, but I knew, and I actually, in fairness, like just full disclosure, I told Ross because I got that name from outside. Like nobody said, hey, it's Mark Stoops from A&M. Like, but I got enough from, like a lot of what, as you said it earlier, like with y'all, like so much of this is like relationships and trust. And I've not sat in a cocoon of just A&M people my whole career. I love doing this. I never got to a point where I thought I'm going to go leave and do something else. I never got to a point where I thought, this isn't what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But I also naturally, just through friendships over the years, but coaches leaving and staying in touch with them and meeting people. That's why I go to so many different sporting events. God forbid, I was at the Ohio State, Texas Cotton Bowl, and I was on the Ohio State sideline. No one decided to take that picture of me. But I was down there and like, it is contrary to what some people seem to like want me to do. I do have like a network, and part of that network, it pays off in situations like that. So I didn't want to I knew the sensitivity of it. I knew the delicate nature, and I respect that while also trying to get the information. I got the Stoop stuff from other people, like several. And all I did, if you go back and look, I floated his name amongst like 4 names, but I said enough that people just went, boom, that's the one. And I did that on, to some degree on purpose, but not to be obvious. But I wanted people to know there's real stuff behind this one, because otherwise everyone, like you guys, would have blown that off, right? Like, we're not hiring him.
No, we would have went with one of the other names on the list and completely went nuclear with it.
You'd have gone right past that, right? So I wanted to put a little more emphasis on that, because at the time I wrote, I go, I think it's him. I know it's going to be. So the next day, Saturday, I did talk to Ross, and I was like, look, man, I think, like this is going to be, it's going to be met with a lot of resistance. I said, you have to understand what you're seeing from the Aggies. And I didn't even say it was him. And they all zeroed in on that. And it was a really negative response. Like, everyone that decides such things at A&M are like all of us. They're fans. They were students. They were sitting in the third deck, or they were,
I don't say that.
They were though. I know, but think about all of them that they got to that point, but at some point they were students at A&M trying to earn their Aggie ring, and they love this place, and they're humans, whether they're 50, 60, 70, or 21. Like, they're the same people they were. They're just to varying degrees successful, or maybe they're happier or angry or whatever, but they're still the same people. And it's like the mob of a fan base. It includes decision makers, not just at A&M, but everywhere. And so I was like, man, if it's this negative, you got to understand that it's going to be that negative. So, we'll see what happens. And then later in that day, I found out, like, yeah, that's going to be the push, is he's going to go in there. And I didn't find that out from him. I continued to, because I just didn't want to put anyone in a spot where I couldn't say what was going on. So I didn't want to jeopardize a relationship. But you told me this, and an hour later I put it out and burned you. So I was working hard to get it from the outside. Found out later. I was like, man, it's time to single that out, make that push, and I did, because it was happening. It was happening, and all hell broke loose.
Wait, so
one of the most fun.
just to you're saying it was happening. So is it true that his private jet had landed in College Station and they like turned him around at the tarmac?
I don't think that was true. I've done a lot of asking. I don't think that was true, but I do believe, and I've heard Stoops decline it. I do believe that he agreed to take the job, and I do believe that he told people on his staff that they were taking the job. That much. And look, I've talked to people at Kentucky since then, and even like throughout, that weekend. And yeah, I mean, I do believe that he had taken the job, and he had told other people on his staff that they were coming. And see, the thing was, at the finish line is, Ross and them, they were in charge of making the pick. But at the end of the day, the powers that be have to sign off on the pick. And I think the energy, the negative response, the vitriolic response, and from the entire fan base.
Yeah.
So not me, but everyone. I think it didn't make people go, oh my God, people aren't going to like it, so we're not going to do it. That is part of it, but I think it made them go, wait a second. Like, it was one of those times when they said, why is everyone so emotional about this? And let's start asking the tough questions here before we sign off on this. And that's what happened. And I'm glad it did, because and we'll talk Elko, but I'm glad it did. I think this is the fit for him. I think Stoops, it was nothing against him, but I just think it would have excited no one. And I think he's a quality coach over there, but it felt like, I mean, if you're not going to move the needle at all upon a hire, even within your fan base, that's a tough place to start. It really is. I mean,
right. He was starting down 2 touchdowns before the game started. Like, we were just, we hated it. Everyone hated the move. Yeah. And it was the first palpable, I think the first time you could ever point in history to a team getting bullied out of hiring a coach by their fans online, which was beautiful, but also horrifying at the same time, because this Board of Regents, like just what you're saying, they're just a bunch of fans, but they might be in their bubble and they might be only talking to each other in that room, like these selection committees. And we have no idea what they're thinking, how they're feeling, but we can come together collectively and try to make decisions. Doesn't mean they're going to be the right one. I don't understand why that was the choice if it was him pitted against Elko, or if it was a money thing, but we've got time for that on another pod. Let's just quickly, before we get into this football season, want to talk about I know you've talked about this ad nauseum, but the Johnny Manziel era, because that Heisman kind of propelled A&M into a spotlight that it had never been in nationally before.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had kind of a worldwide impact. How did you guys, how did that affect TexAgs? How did that feel on campus at the time? And has that kind of extended out since he left?
It really has continued. I always laugh, like, whoever it may be. Sometimes it's Aggies, usually not Aggies, but it's other people are like, it's, Johnny, he's not even, he was a bust. He didn't, no one cares anymore. I'm like, really? They don't? I mean, all the way down to, if you're an Aggie and you ever watch him go anywhere, and I've seen it in Canada and Mexico and California to New York to Miami, like, he still moves the needle like you wouldn't believe it, and does it within the sports world, celebrity. I've seen, I can't count how many pro athletes and have come up and asked, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like he just transcended it. And some people don't want to acknowledge that. But I think away outside of football, he's I don't know who's a more famous college athlete, like away from Tim Tebow for what he does. Like it's the shortest of short lists, right? And I mean he's literally in Canada right now on tour. I mean in the UK on tour with Drake right now, touring through Europe with like on the tour, So I've never seen anything like it at A&M.
You're saying, sorry, Billy, you're saying Drake was there at Midnight Yell 2014 Alabama.
No, you know what though? It was like he was supposedly coming to that Alabama A&M game in 2013, and you know what?
You're waiting for it.
I'm going to say this: we might still get him here this year. Don't forget, he lives now. He's got the place over there outside of Brenham. Okay,
yeah, like 45 minutes away.
I think if they were playing Bama or Texas or maybe LSU at home this year, you probably would have got him. We still might. I'm not ruling it out. So, but Johnny, the energy of this town, of this, like just everything during those 2 years was like nothing I'd ever seen. And I would bring like former players would come in town that were like buddies of mine when I was in college, like superstars that won Super Bowls and did all this. And they'd come in and be like, they'd see Johnny on Northgate or whatever. And they'd be like, what is this? And it was the circus. I mean, it was an absolute circus. And I remember those 2 years always just going, man, just don't screw it all up in one night with the wrong mistake. Cause I just felt like it was such a tightrope. And he jokes around. I didn't think he was joking, but I think it was the Super Bowl last year where he was just like, man, I always felt like safer when you were around. Like I couldn't just screw it all up. And I said, I'm glad you thought that way because I figured I was absolutely useless because there was he was going to do what he was going to do. But the thing that kept Johnny and keeps him what he is Johnny really cares about people. And most of it, if you go through, Johnny over the years has hurt Johnny primarily. Like he just he'd say that himself. It's like almost self-sabotage, in terms of his football career. But that dude's done a lot for a lot of people, not just in his circle, but quietly for other people over the years and doesn't ask for credit for it and almost like shies away from it. But he's done a lot for a lot of people through his platform. And like I said, just he doesn't care for anyone to know about it. It's just little things like, tell you what he's great with too is like young fans. That dude will make the time of day anytime ever. Like whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's at an airport, whether it's here. I think he remembers when he was a kid looking up to these football players, and he's got a kind of a soft spot in his heart for that.
Yeah, whenever we've met him, he's been a great guy. We've had good conversations with him a couple of times. I think we went to that signing thing at TexAgs. It was me and Tom.
Their junior year of college, yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget.
Stud.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is that the one with Mike Stud there
too?
Yes. So I brought a Browns jersey, a Manziel Browns jersey, and I got all the way to the front of the line. And some guy goes, no, you can't get that signed if you don't buy a hoodie. And I was standing there like, college kid. And I'm like, what do you mean I have to buy a $60 hoodie? I just sat in line for 4 hours in the cold. And Johnny comes over and he's like, nah, man, I got you. Signs it, talks to me for a couple minutes. Super cool. So we've got his back on this podcast. We'd love to talk to him at some point. It was watching that Untold documentary. I know you were a big part of that, but it was kind of weird because there wasn't like closure on. You thought he was going to have this big aha moment towards the end, but it never really got there,
Yeah, I loved what they did. I was like, you could have done a whole second one. Like you could have done the Browns, the NFL tenure. That was wild. Like I went up to Cleveland, I don't know, 2 or 3 times.
Did you meet Billy Football? Did you meet the wig mustache king?
I still laugh because I'm like, that was definitely named after me because he was notorious for doing that. Not about me, but with like he would use different names of his good buddies. It just happened to be Billy that weekend. It could have been whoever. He's going to name it or it would be like one of his coaches or whoever, but he would change that name up. Yeah, as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's 100% true. Like, it's such an unbelievable story. And I was like, no, that's absolutely the truth. And I think he said it on the Logan Paul podcast the other day, how he put that, location up, that it was Cleveland. He had a picture of him and his dog in the car, and he tried to change the location of Cleveland, outside of Cleveland where he lived. And I was like, yeah, that's so him to actually think that people were going to believe that when he's just openly running around in Vegas with a legitimate, like a professional wig. He went and got a real wig. I remember Kingsbury the next day was like, that's unbelievable. And he started sending me pictures of the shirts that were being made. And I'm like, he's like, Cliff had seen the picture before I did. And he was like, no, I sent him the shirt. And he goes, no, you don't understand. That's exactly what he looked like. That's exactly what he was wearing. Like, whoever did that shirt, it's real.
Unbelievable, man.
Insane. That is just actually. I still contend though. Had Johnny Manziel, he can disagree with me too all he wants, but I think had he gone to the Chiefs. Here's a what's it called? Butterfly effect, right? The Chiefs and Andy Reid. Andy Reid loved Johnny. Andy Reid was drafting Johnny with the next pick. The Browns traded up to get Johnny. They jumped Cleveland. They jumped Kansas City.
Wow.
Andy Reid and Alex Smith, who wasn't going anywhere at the time, was pre-broken leg, and that had a way better chance of working because Johnny is like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, Drew Brees. Anywhere where Johnny could have gone, where he didn't have to play right away, but there was a head coach and a quarterback there that Johnny would not have wanted to let those type people down.
So you think that because in
Then it would have
the
been
documentary,
by the way, probably, right? A couple years later, do they draft Patrick Mahomes?
No.
that makes sense. So you think that he would have had a shot in the right situation? Because the way that the documentary kind of lays it out is like all the pre-draft stuff, he was just off his rocker, and it's crazy that he was even drafted at all based on the information that and all the things that happened leading up to it. So it's just kind of like it felt like there was no situation, but Cleveland was probably the worst one.
That's my deal. Like I think he would have probably say, I don't know what he would say that. We've talked about it, but I think though Cleveland was the worst because you had Hoyer, who was very insecure. And I get it. He's very insecure. He never had a starting job. He's finally going to have one. But everyone in that city, they're literally like, we got Johnny and we got LeBron. And, like it was wild. And so imagine being him. Now, do I think Hoyer handled it the best way? No. But that was his shot. So it's like, hey, the guy's just you heard Johnny talking about it. And then Pettin, he was a terrible head coach, terrible organization, and a bad quarterback. I'll tell you who loves Johnny, and if anyone talked to him today, he wouldn't have a bad thing to say about him, is Josh McCown. Josh was at the tail end of his career. He's very secure. He wasn't worried about if Johnny ended up playing over him or not. And he was just a real mentor to Johnny and tried, because I know Randy still is one of my good friends to this day. And Josh loves Johnny. And, so it needed to be someone that was secure and could kind of be a mentor because he wasn't going to go running around and try to let one of these NFL legends down because that's just who he is. Now, again, yeah, it was a wild run up to the draft for sure. And that cost him because he would have gone a lot higher.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk. We've got a whole separate conversation we'll have about his NFL because I watch the highlights every once in a while and I'm like, man, there was a player there. So, well, let's talk a little Aggie football for a bit. I know we've got some time. We've got some rapid fire questions we want to get to before we get started here. But, first off, newcomer turning heads in kind of like we're leading up to fall camp here. Anyone? I'm thinking Jerome Miles is going to be our head turner, but I'm just curious of who you feel like is going to be the standout of the fall camp here.
I've been hearing some real buzz on Jerome Miles lately, because he was late getting here, but he's big, he can run, and they're running around with those let's call them a harness, whatever they are. Top. I love how people still, like the Texas fans, will be like, look at them wearing bras. Do you not watch sports anymore? Like you somehow you just checked out and choose to willingly ignore every other athlete you've ever seen wearing those things. I do wonder a little bit why they can't have sleeves, but point is, like, they're tracking those metrics and stuff, and the analytics, and that dude can really, really run and really jump, and he's special. And I think we forget, right, that we're looking at, hey, they got Aaron Gregory. Are they going to be able to get Jace Matthews or Tristan Keys? We forget. Hey, by the way, they did just sign a 5-star receiver, and they signed one the year before that's, he came in more an athlete in Terry Bussey, but they got a couple of them sitting here on campus, and then Casey Concepcion has played like a 5-star receiver in college in a Power 4 conference. So I like what there is there. I still think, like, how it all comes together is a question mark, but Miles is definitely turning heads. I can't wait to see what he looks like in on-field competition. But sticking at that position, Ashton Bethel-Roman, man, I talked about him today when we did the Luchador podcast, and I'm like, he's just done this. When he got here, when they got the job, they were like, we got to sign him. They tried to flip him. They eventually got him after signing day from Arkansas. So from day one, this staff loved him. Then he gets here, and they're like, damn, this dude can really, really run. Then you get later in the season, late in practices, and they're like, he's really coming on. He's going to be a good one. If he can just make it through the year where he's not getting to play that much without getting discouraged and want to leave. And he didn't, and he hung in, and throughout the offseason, then in spring ball, and now during the summer. I just think he's a guy that we're excited about. Miles. We're excited about the 2 transfers. Certain people are still crying about Micah Hudson, who I think would have been, barring a dramatic turnaround, like the 6th receiver. I mean, when they took him, remember they had Noah Thomas. It was Noah and Concepcion and Craver and Bussey, and people were forgetting about Bethel-Roman. And Ashton Bethel-Roman's a guy that he'll be impactful, I think, this year. And I don't know to what degree, but he's going to make some big plays, and he'll make some big plays over the top of defense.
Awesome. So I guess if I had to ask about the coaching staff, there was kind of, I guess both coordinators there were talks, right? The same angry fans that didn't let us hire Mark Stoops, maybe wanted us to make a change in both coordinator situations. Let's focus on Colin Klein. What's the feeling inside the building on him? And do you get the sense that they're molding the offense this year to kind of emphasize Marcel Reed's style this year because he's going to be the clear-cut starter?
Yeah, and I think there was some misconception last year. I read a lot of stuff where people are like, "Oh, we have really good intel that Klein only wanted Marcel. He never wanted Connor." That was actually the opposite. It wasn't they didn't want Marcel, but Marcel wasn't ready. This time a year ago, Marcel Reed was not ready to be an SEC starting quarterback. So I'm saying that not as an insult, but as a credit to him, because weeks later he had himself ready. But during camp, there was not a question. He was battling with Jalen Henderson as to who would be the backup quarterback. That was a battle, and it was actually built around Connor because they thought they had and maybe Connor will do this at U of H, but they thought they had an NFL-bound quarterback and a guy that could pick defenses apart, much like we saw, in that Missouri game or some certain games here or there in his career. So when that didn't work out, you got to think about Klein, and all of a sudden, one game in, you don't have your starting quarterback. I don't think they had it at receiver. I think this receiving core, because like I said with Bethel-Roman and Craver and those guys, you go back and look at K-State, they're going bombs away over the top. They're running the quarterback. They got a great running game. More of what we saw last year was just that great running game, or an emerging running game, let's say. I think Klein, people forget. I don't know if it was Greg McElroy or Jordan Rogers. One of them said this to me at SEC Media Days ago. It wasn't just Marcel in his first year at A&M. It was Marcel and Colin Klein had not been through the SEC yet. So he spent his whole career in the Big 12, came over. Now you're going against SEC defenses, SEC defensive coordinators. Right when you really get it rolling, your best player, not best running back, best player goes down. And oh, by the way, we were doing a quarterback shuffle into about game 8 last year out of necessity. So I think that is I think Colin Klein, by the end of this season, I think people are going to feel a lot better about what this offense can do. And man, they just got to keep I'm just telling you, we look at these teams that have won the SEC and won national titles, and these teams that have given A&M fits since they've been in the league, and and Texas had it this year, unfortunately. It's playmakers at wideout. It's like game-changing players that can not only stretch the defense but catch the easy stuff and turn it into home runs. And I think they'll have more of that this year. But you really look at, like you mentioned, Miles, and I mentioned Bussey, and that's 2 years in a row. And then I think these national services, if they don't make Aaron Gregory a 5-star, they're dumb as shit. And a lot of them I talk to agree with me on that. That they're like, yeah, that's stupid. Even like we should have him ranked as a 5-star. All he's done is tear up everywhere he's been and be the best one. So they're getting there. But I think that was lacking too. It's just those big play targets. So defensively, look, obviously Elko wasn't satisfied with what it looked like and everything. So I think he added Hemphill from James Madison to help him. He's that was his first hire ever as a DC at Hofstra. So I think they added him to help on the back end, which would free now Jay Bateman to go and handle the front seven and run fits, run defense and alignment, all that. That's his specialty. He can focus just on that. But Elko's the D coordinator now. Y'all give me 1 sec. I'm out of water. Talking too long. Got something in my throat.
No worries.
All right. Ready?
Going back to the best player thing. So Le'Veon Moss is going to be 100% rolling into this year. Running back room has to be, in terms of position groups, the most exciting, pent up. I want to see this group play the game of football this year. Have you heard anything different, or is that the exact same way you're feeling?
Studs. And by the way, Jamarian Morrow and Tiger Ryden, they're going to be badasses too. So that whole position, there's a little piece of me that's like, one guy, season-ending knee injury. One guy missed all of last season with a foot injury. Other guy had shoulder surgery at the end of last season. I believe they're going to be healthy. Let me see them healthy. That's my only concern.
Right.
They're freaking good, man. And Le'Veon Moss is, like I say, he's the best player on this football team. He was one of the couple of best backs in the entire 16-team SEC last year. If he wouldn't have gotten hurt, I mean, what is he, 1,200, 1,300-yard rusher?
Did you see that video of him on Twitter, of him literally crawling up the
People
post?
believe the stuff people will believe now, and
that was AI, right? That was fake, right?
That was not him.
Hey, these people with this parkour, what is it called? Parkour?
That's not parkour. That's something else. I don't know what that is.
That's Spider-Man. No, but there are people that y'all do know. People believe that when they saw it, they're like, "Why Elko can't let him climb up Kyle Field like that? He's gonna get hurt."
Yeah, I think Tom Ag was one of them.
Probably was,
well, I hope Le'Veon can do that. But the one that got me the other day that I thought for sure was a dupe. Did y'all see? Thank you. Did y'all see the Dave Aranda one where he's like talking about?
I heard about that.
Yes, I didn't see this.
I thought that was fake. I'm like, none of the Baylor people are saying, you idiots, y'all actually believe that? That's no one's. I think it's real.
See, we're in a bad spot online now. We're at like a meeting point. We're gonna have to decide which way this goes. But also on the positive spin on this, we can take our takes that we put up clips for. We can just be like, nah, that was AI. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's a deep fake right there. I'd never said that.
And be like, oh yeah, I said Wegman was going to win Heisman last year and be the number one pick in the NFL. Like, no, that was just AI.
I was right there with Wigman. And that's what people don't understand is like, and here's where the Texas fans will crack me up. Connor Wigman still might get drafted higher than Quinn Ewers. And
oh hell yeah, absolutely.
All I said last year is I thought they put the Quinn Ewers hype train so far ahead of where it should be. And I was like, and I like Quinn. Like, I think the dude seemed really likable, like as a teammate, like a guy in your program. B, I thought he was pretty damn good. But I also didn't think he was ever, like, he wasn't a top 5 pick, which they shouted you down if you dared said otherwise. And I thought it was ridiculous that they were anointing him right into the Heisman, right into New York City, including Joe Flacco. So they were doing that. And I'm like, I'm telling y'all, before that season, I had so many scouts tell me not me saying this, but NFL people, and they can be wrong. We all know that. Quinn looks really good with the Dolphins right now. But they were telling me, like, yeah, I think, we like Connor as much as any of these guys. Cam Ward was the one that they always loved, but they were like, Quinn, Shador, like Connor's tape is as good as these guys. We'll see what happens this year at U of H, but I was in on it. I was like, yeah, I see it. I see it, like, because we look at the good. One game that I'd always bring up, but I always felt like, damn, am I glossing over this because the whole team sucked? That first year he's a starter, I loved what he showed against Ole Miss, going back and forth with
That was the
Jackson
game that
Dart.
made us
Oh yeah.
believe.
But how many times did we bring up that game at Auburn where they were down 7-3 and then 14-3 and they scored like a minute left to make it like 13 or 14-10? That was a terrible game. And then that next year, when he did get hurt and Max Johnson came in and broke open, that game was like 7-3 at halftime, and it was a struggle. But the upside of Connor looked terrific to me, and I thought that's what we were going to see last year. I really did. I thought we were going to see him look like he did against Missouri all year. So I don't have anything against him. I hope he gets it back, but I hope it's Marcel Reed that we're talking about as a star quarterback in the state of Texas this year, not Connor or Arch.
Of course. Yeah, no, we were probably Connor's biggest backers as a podcast for honestly the whole 2 years, like from when he was a freshman.
Blindly following.
So when he came in, we were really excited, and then we thought he was going to be
Stephen McGee on that one. McGee went all in. That was his guy, and there was a lot to love.
Well, it made sense, and then it just something happened in Notre Dame before Notre Dame. It's probably going to be something where 5 years from now we can go back and maybe someone will have a conversation about it. I don't know if you know anything you want to share, but
I think more than anything, I think it felt like it. I think it was a bad fit from the start. Like not a bad fit for anyone's fault, but it was like I felt like when that hire was made, they had to low key like get Connor to buy in.
Really,
it wasn't like nothing. Connor had a great like he wasn't standoffish. It wasn't. I really don't have a bad thing to say about him. But it just felt like in his mind, I saw a guy that just kind of, to me, had to be convinced. And I don't know if he'd heard something from, the guys that were at Kansas State when he was there. I don't know. Like I felt like he had to kind of be convinced to buy. And then I think that Notre Dame game went so bad for him that it just never felt like it fit. And that's crazy to me because I know that they were all in on him from day one. So much so that, look, man, I still am like, it's really interesting when you think back and like they waited so long to offer Cade Klubnik. I think they offered him the day before, the same day as Connor. Yeah. And Cade comes from an Aggie family and all that. And then, like, man, when there's a coaching change and you're Mike Elko, like, do you go crazy to try to get a DJ Lagway? And what would A&M's fan base had done? What would they have done had Connor Wigman just before Elko ever coached a game, oh, by the way, he let Wigman walk out the door? Like, what would we all have been thinking then? It's all revisionist history, but yeah, I mean, but that's how much people believed in Connor, and it was Elko, it was Jimbo, it was Klein, it was Petrino, it was I was about to think of the OC before that, but that was Jimbo, and though, I mean, I think hell, Willie Fritz might be the big beneficiary of this one. Who knows?
Yeah, so it's maybe Connor was bought in 100% on Mark Stoops and then got blindsided like the rest of us. But let's do a couple more football questions and then we'll get into rapid fire and let you go. I know we're kind of cutting it close on time. All right, cool. So let's move to the other side. If you were forced to say something pessimistic or if there's a big question mark on the team, for me personally, I think it's a secondary still, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I'm a lot more optimistic about the secondary, but yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, first of all, our question's still proven otherwise, right? But the secondary, I need to see a little more at safety. I need to see like Dalton Brooks take that jump to match his athletic gifts. I need to see Bryce Anderson play like a senior that has eyes at continuing to play football. Ratcliffe looked good early on in the season. He needs to take a jump. But I saw those things in the spring. Miles Davis is another name to remember. Really like Miles as a guy that was kind of like Bethel Roman, was a true freshman last year, but people were really talking about him by the end of the year, and he went out and looked good in the spring. But for me, and Elko had a great commentary on this yesterday when we were at the TexAgs kickoff deal. He's like, secondary and coverages are the last thing to come together for, after a coaching change and after a scheme change, coaching change, because there's so much communication required. And you got new players, you got new verbiage and new coverages and new asks for these guys. He goes, usually that in-game communication, because on offense, you can scale it back. You can do what the player or the units do well, and you can stick to that, and you can dumb down the game plan. You could add a little bit and a little bit, and you can pull some back. You control that, right? Yeah, you could kind of keep it basic vanilla if you want. By the way, that doesn't work. We all know that, right? But you're more like at the mercy of what the offense is doing in terms of they can, if they want to, they can test your coverage and see if there's busts and if you can. And so I think there was way too much of that last year. And I think that's part of why Elko made the move. That's part of why he, brought in Hemphill. And then I think just so many guys going into year two, you add in Chappelle, you add in Humphrey, Will Lee looks like he's taking a turn. And the guy quietly that everybody was so down on after the USC game and Des Ricks, he looked like a different player in the spring. I don't know how that carries over into the fall, but that dude, like everything about him screamed that he was going to be a really good SEC cornerback. And then just, he hit as a first-year player, hit a wall last year. I expect a jump there. Is it a prove it to me when we see it in games? Yeah, for sure. But I expect that. What worries me more, I like the pass rush. I love Cassius Howell. Ryland, I think, is going to be really good. Elko said he added 100 pounds to his lifts this offseason, like the core lifts they do. Yeah, I know, right? He added 100. He's moving inside to detect. But I really like the edge guys and Hayes from really Pitt, but Colorado, but he did everything he did on the field at Pitt. And Pemba from Georgia, Searcy from Florida. Marco Jones, stud, going to be a star. I love the pass rush ability. I think it's going to be noticeably better in the way of sacks getting home. Elko said yesterday they missed 28 sacks last year. 28 tackles that should have been sacks that they missed, where they missed the quarterback. My concern is actually stopping the run. That's what Elko's defenses were known for when he was here. And when you lose Stewart, Turner, Scorton, and then the year before that you lost to Walter. There's been some attrition on these run stopping, grown ass men, and I think the secondary can hold up if they can win on first down and they're not, they're not getting run on. So
Sure.
That's actually my concern defensively. And then offensively, it's just like, look, that pass game has to make a big jump. We're not talking about, if it just gets a little better. No, we want 9 wins against a tougher schedule. We want a playoff berth and 10 wins. And, damn, why not surprise college football? Get in the damn thing. But to get there, that offense, it's not the offense. If you look at the numbers and the points in SEC, it's just watching it and knowing you got to be able to really efficiently throw the football and connect down the field and have big plays to win these SEC football games. And I think that's my thing is, can they make a big enough jump in year two to be a big playoff?
It's all about Marcel.
I think 100%.
I don't disagree.
So with the missed sacks, you said 28 missed sacks. Secondary's got to come around. Passing game's going to come around. What do you think Elko is prioritizing going into year two here, besides the absolute heater he's been on the past month in recruiting?
Wow, yeah, that's definitely been prioritized. It's been really impressive to watch them recruit and really to watch them recruit to what they want. I mean, you're never going to win all the battles, but when you're getting guys that, and say you guys follow it, right? Like when you're getting guys that A&M's been on for a long time, whether they're a 3-star or 5-star, whether it's Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas, Florida, or whether it's, OU, Tech, Ole Miss, Arkansas, whatever. If they've been on him a long time, they're getting the guys they want. So he is on a heater there. I think his deal. They keep saying it, and it's like finish, and by that, I think he needed a year, right? He told me a year ago, like, you need a full year of everything, the wins, the losses, go crazy after you beat LSU in this real emotional game and then go out to South Carolina and have a letdown. Not that they wanted to have it, but like, you have to go through everything of a full off season, full spring ball. And now I think he's got their heads where he wants them to be, and the guys are bought in. You didn't see hardly any of them. I think Noah Thomas is the only guy that left that hurt them out of the whole program. One guy. So there's a lot to like there, and I think Elko's deal now is just to really shore up that defense. Like I said, he was telling me yesterday, it's the big plays. He's like, he goes, by all our metrics, we are actually better than a lot of the defenses that I've had here. He goes, it was way up there except one area, and it was gave up too many big plays. I think the Notre Dame game is a great example. Like, stuff them. Most of these plays are good. Bam, there was a 45-yard touchdown. Stop them. Boom, there's a 25-yard touchdown, game over. Like, I think that's what hurt. That's what he's going to try to really focus on, I think, the most in fall camp, in terms of just getting that defense locked into the point that there just aren't those gash plays allowed nearly as often as they were last year.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to have an emphasis on that, and I trust Elko of all people to get that right this season, especially with the talent we've got. So, cool. Let's just get a quick record prediction from you and a national champ, or let's give you a Final Four for the playoff.
Wait, before you answer the record prediction,
Yeah,
you have to understand, we've all agreed as a group we refuse to have optimism, hope, any of that until it is proven, until like week 8. Like,
no, not week 8, because we'll still lose the last 5.
We had it. Yeah, shit. We were ready to roll week 8. I was so worried about South Carolina. Have any of y'all been to a game there?
No,
not there.
I know it's insane. It's insane.
Only at night, though. It's so stale during the. It's not stale, but it's like. But I went and I was like, God, I was so worried when they had a bye and we were coming off LSU, but I was still hopeful. I was like, you know what? We'll squeak by. You know what? We'll squeak by. We'll get to Sellers. I didn't know he would break 76 tackles.
We didn't bring him down. We got him.
Yeah, that was absurd.
I did not know he would break 76 tackles in that game. But no, I'm with you. And I was scolding one of my buddies. He decided to wake up on a Sunday morning. Believe it or not, like, people that really know me would be like, some of them are like, yeah, you're the most negative one of everybody. I'm like, no, there's a lot of people that would laugh at that. There's no way. But, sometimes I can be as pessimistic as any Aggie, where you're like, okay, I got to get over this, because you're going to get it right. And I will say this, Elko, in 1 year, like a year and a half, he's done so much right. Like, I'll even say that about Marcel Reed. People, they're propping up dudes like Austin Simmons and even Arch and Mateer, who's doing it at Washington State. I'm like, Marcel Reed did a lot right last year, and he did a lot well for a first-year starting quarterback in the SEC that had essentially never played. Oh, yeah, he was bad against Texas when the whole team was bad, against the best defense arguably in the country. Oh, yeah, he was bad in the second half on the road at South Carolina after losing his best running back. But he should have won USC. He should have won Auburn with last couple minute touchdown drives that he engineered. He went and won in the swamp. He came in, and off the bench and just said, screw you to LSU. So, like, Elko the same, right? Like, I think Elko did last year was such a much better first year than people want to give credit for. And I get it, because the ending sucked. That stretch sucked. But for year one, it's the third best of any active coach in the SEC out of 16. DeBoer and Billy, Grind and Brian, they were 9-3, and Mike Elko's 8-4. Nobody else even hit 8-4 of the other 13. So I'm not. But my buddy was like, decided to call me on a Sunday morning, all doom and gloom. So I decided, I instead of texting him, I just started calling him, and I was like, all right. He's like, well, it's actually my brother-in-law is doing it, and he's reading me what the brother-in-law is saying. I'm like, all right, man, like it's clear that this guy had Terry Bussey already marked down as a bust. And I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? Like, if any other school had a 5-star receiver that was so good that he was playing corner and competing to start halfway through camp, that same fan would be so scared of that guy, and that Florida receiver would be why we can't beat Florida. Well, you're going to have Lagway throwing to that guy. Okay, I love Lagway, but are we going to skip all the bad throws he made as a first-year starter last year? Apparently so.
Oh yeah.
We're going to be scared of Jack. We're going to be scared of Cam Coleman, he's scary. But
yes, I'm scared of him.
I know.
Yeah.
So was our secondary last year. But we're going to be scared of Cam Coleman. If Jackson Arnold was our quarterback, we'd be believing what everyone else around the country says about us, that Jackson Arnold sucks and he can't do it. And that same guy would go, we can't win 3 games with Jackson Arnold. But now all of a sudden he's going to get the ball to Cam Coleman 12 times in a game. So I try to think like that when I'm like, what is A&M? And the more I do that, the more I go, this is the hardest year I've ever had to predict A&M and to predict the league, because Bama's to the pack. Georgia, I think with Gunnar Stockton and the losses they've had, they're to the pack. Now, these guys are at the top of the pack, but they are so much more to the pack than we've ever seen, right? There's no 2019 LSU out there. I just think that these teams are so grouped up, and you look at our schedule, and if you just said same, better, or worse for A&M, I think, like Notre Dame, same. Florida, same. South Carolina, same. LSU, same. You just Auburn may, if Jackson Arnold's good, they might creep up the same. And then the teams that you're better than, and you should be, Arkansas, Fayetteville at night, Missouri, road game. It's a tough schedule to predict, man. It's really hard this year. Not just for A&M, though. I think for everybody. When I was at SEC Media Days, I'm hearing people go, well, A&M could sneak in the playoffs, or Oklahoma, or Tennessee, or Florida, or LSU, or, there's like 8 in South Carolina. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And hopefully we're on the fun side of that, which I think is just going to boil down to you win 5 out of 7 close games versus lose 5 out of 7.
Whichever way the ball bounces that day.
Yeah. So we're going to put you down, Billy, for 8-4. I think we'll call it a day there.
I went up one. I'm going 9-3 because I'm not doing the 8-4. I refuse.
8-5. 8-5.
Yeah, I don't want Texas 8-4. I don't want to see it anymore. But no, I think my prediction hinges. I think it hinges on. I really do. I think it hinges on Notre Dame and Auburn. Like, imagine if they won those 2 games. How do you feel about this football team?
We'd be insufferable.
10 wins.
Yeah, we would. They'd be like, these guys think they're winning the whole thing. They beat, a Auburn team that's going to go. Yeah, we beat Jackson Arnold and a guy in Carr who's you'll be starting his 2nd game. But I'll take it. Like, give us those breaks, please. Like, I don't want to. I won't apologize later in the year if A&M caught some breaks, right? Like, but yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame is probably that's the 8-4 versus 9-3 game.
Usually is. You mentioned earlier, and it was kind of like a perfect explanation of what it's like to be an Aggie fan. Like, in our group text with our friends, it's like you go to talk to one person on the phone and they are ready to jump off a cliff. They think it's the world's ending. They want to fire every coach. And you're like, well, hold on. It's not that bad. And then you turn around and this guy's like, don't get mad about any players doing anything bad. Don't get mad about the coaches. Don't say anything bad about the team. And you're like, well, hold on. And you're just stuck in the middle you have to change your own takes depending on who you're talking to in this fan base. So
you do. And I'll tell you, it's sometimes people come up to me and they'll be just so sure of what they're saying and just so like I hate the ones that will come up and just be like, and I love anybody coming up to talk to me about it, but when they come up and they go, be honest here, shoot me straight, don't bullshit me, I'm like, just go away then. If that's how you're gonna, like, if I don't agree with you, you're gonna try to get me to say usually that we suck, and if I disagree with you and say, no, I think we'll be all right. I don't think we'll be that bad. I think it'll be somewhere in between. Then you think you've already told me ahead of time that you think I'm bullshitting you. So why are we wasting this endeavor? My favorite thing, and you kind of touched on it too, like when you're dealing with the people, I laugh so hard at the narrative, and it's on a lot of other message boards, like, oh, you can't be negative on TexAgs. It's like, my way of professing negativity is different. If you listen to me, you know when I'm really up about something, when I'm really negative. I just don't want to scream and shout because I do feel like a sense of responsibility. Like, I don't know why it's been for this long, or this spotlight that we have. Like, I don't want to be the hothead lunatic that rides the wave. I could. I just chose a long time ago not to do that. I don't want to. I know it's sports and you call for people to be fired and stuff. I don't want to do that. I'll give my opinion, like, hey, he better do this or he's going to have a hard time hanging on. It's just the method of delivery that some people call it Luch speak, as they like to call it. Like, they know what I'm saying, even without saying it. But the idea that you can't, that we're never negative or questioning things, but I know we lean positive. I don't shy away from that. But the thought that people cannot be negative on TexAgs, and the idea that people have that I will like swoop down and ban them for having a negative opinion is insane. It is crazy. Like, have you read the freaking message boards, people?
Message boards
Go
wouldn't have any
right
words.
now. Go at any time. Like, you don't get banned for being negative. The people that typically get banned, they get banned for being assholes. They get banned for just, for some reason, when we lose to Texas in baseball, they get so mad about it that they have to say, oh, I bet Billy was waiting in the parking lot to go have dinner with Slosh afterwards. Bam. Done. Because you're a jerk. You had no business doing that and stirring that up, because I sat in that stadium and watched us lose 3 freaking games. I was miserable watching that.
Where did you eat dinner with Schloss?
But I had to hide it. Yeah. No dinner. And then, like, I'm sitting there like, you couldn't get me out of there fast enough. And I had to not act like it, because I didn't want them to make up a whole another gif on me if I'm yelling at an umpire or something. Yeah, like, to come home and then see that, I'm like, yeah, you're done. But really, like, you think that board was real positive after that weekend? You can be negative, but it's just funny because that's the narrative. I guess if I was some kind of maniac, it would be probably even more entertaining. But rarely do I get. I think the most pissed I ever was, like, live on air, and I broke my own rule, which is a 24-hour rule. After that App State game, I came in here and I said, "We're doing a show right now." Nuno was like this, and Zane and them were like, "Oh, what?" And I go, "Right now." And I lost it, and I think it was like 6 months before. I didn't even try to talk to Jimbo after that, because I just am like, whatever. We're all adults. Like, people can process their. And like, you could walk in here and fight me. You could walk in here and say, "Hey, you're a jerk for saying that." You can walk in and say, "I completely disagree. Why'd you say that?" Or, "Hey, we need to talk." Any of the above. And Jimbo, I think his choice was, "Yeah, I'm pissed. I felt like that was unfair. I don't have anything to say to him." And then, like, 6 months later, I had never called him. He had never called me. I'm at A&M football camp, walk up, said something to me, like we had been talking the whole time. I said, "Hey, we start talking," and never even came up again. Same thing happened with Coach Sumlin after those quarterbacks left. And Sumlin was my friend. This is what people don't get about this business. Kevin Sumlin was assistant coach at like 36 years old here. I was 26. I met him when he was at Purdue. I was at his house and spent the night at his house in Oklahoma when we lost 77-0. I was at his games on Thursday and Friday nights at U of H. Like, he's a dear friend. I didn't get to go, but was going to go to his wedding last summer. And we didn't talk for months because he went dark on me with the quarterback thing. And I'm trying to be a reporter, and I'm like, I need to get the news. So if you're not going to give it to me, then I'll get it elsewhere. And I got it. And I think he felt burned by that. But, it is what it is in this profession. That's why sometimes I do get a little prickly when everybody thinks it's just like so easy. It's like, man, it can be difficult.
I mean, you fucked up like that. We talked to Dalen Mack about that entire situation. Like, I don't know how he could think that could be spun any other way.
Yeah. And I just wanted, like, just explain to me what's going on, because, I knew Kevin Murray for as long as I knew Kevin Sumlin. I knew Kyler. I didn't know him well, but I mean, I've known of Kyler since he was like 6 years old and running around Pee Wee Fields in Dallas because
He's still doing that.
Yeah, he's still doing it. It's crazy. I mean, I get it, but he is still doing it in both ways, right? But Tyler, so like I'm hearing about that, and I heard about Kyle Allen, just someone who had known his dad. So I checked. Once I knew Kyle was gone, I said, "Hey, you don't have to tell me, but I'm gonna say this, and I don't want to be wrong. So stop me if I'm wrong." And it was like that. Like I didn't hear it from you, Kyle. I'm calling you to, I would never want to say this about you if it's not true. And you didn't tell me, you're not. And so I knew those things, and it was just sometimes it gets super it gets super awkward with this stuff, but it's not fun. Some of those are not fun. Like when things are going bad, I hate it, man. I knew the Jimbo firing for a few days before that, but I also knew that like look like the Mark Stoops thing. You don't know when it can change. But I walked into the stadium that night with the tweet on my phone, ready to go. And when Mississippi State runs back the first kick, I was like, just hit send now. But and that was such a fun night for everybody. And Jalen had that game, and I'm like, man, that whole morning I'm watching Game Day, going, I hope this doesn't break from elsewhere because I felt like it was my story, and I really wanted Jimbo to know first, and I did not want to put that out until I knew that Jimbo knew. So I think I put it out like kind of got wind, like, hey, in the agent world, like it's out, like Sexton knows, and I was like, I think I woke up at like 6:15 in the morning after going to bed at like 3, and at 6:15 I was like, man, I wrestled with it for about 15 minutes, and I just hit send and went back to sleep and shut my phone off. I was like,
Tell
and then
Jimbo it was me.
I felt I hate that shit. I really do, because I mean, it is business. And look, God knows what he got paid. It's just I'd honestly rather the coach leave, except it was a situation like the slosh run, which was total bullshit. But normally I'd rather like Buzz. I'd rather a coach leave like Buzz or Mark Turgeon or even Billy Gillespie, who that one crushed Aggie fans. But I'd rather them do that than have to go through that like slow burn where a guy gets fired, and it's like it's not just him, it's all his assistants and their family. It's always nasty, man. It's all not nasty, but it's just always like uncomfortable. And I love a good coaching search. I love covering the coaching search.
Oh yeah.
That gets my like competitive nature going more than anything still after all these years. I want to win.
We'll talk after. We heard some interesting stories about coach in Oregon trying to snipe some coaching staff around Jimbo's tenure. So we'll talk about that, but we want to get into rapid fire here. We'll go Billy to Billy talk here. Don't bullshit me, just shoot me straight. All
right, we're going. See y'all.
We'll probably get through 10 or so questions, but just give me kind of the first 5-10 second answer you got, and
I'll try. Y'all know I'm long-winded as hell. I will do my best.
Rapid fire still brought to you by Hungry Howie's, or what's the?
I don't know.
We need a new sponsor.
Garlic crust pizza. This office loves a little late night. When I send the text over during the game, like fourth quarter, like, hey, order about 10 pizzas. We're coming over. Everybody that's over here working real hard, they're like, yes, Hungry House.
What was the name of them? We'll send the invoice.
Come on over.
All right, let's do it. First question: message boards or Twitter?
Which is worse or better? Or what?
Which you like?
I enjoy Twitter because message boards, I get too long-winded. I want to have conversations. I like Twitter because I like I like the shit talking.
Yeah, that's why we're there.
Yeah.
They can't fit your characters in the tweets, though.
Yeah.
Or was that an upgrade?
I haven't upgraded yet. I kind of feel like I should, but I haven't.
Oh, that's fair. 100 Miles Garrett's, you think they could take on one gorilla?
Yeah, 100 Miles Garrett's could. Miles Garrett's the biggest freak I've ever seen come through.
I was personally victimized by him at the rec on a basketball
court
there.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that went. And you might even be good at basketball. I still can't imagine. That dude. I mean, some of the stuff he was doing as a true freshman, I start getting phone calls like, yeah, this dude's not normal. I'm trying to think. The better question would be, who's the second biggest freak of an athlete ever to come through here? I mean, it might be like believe it or not, like Speedy Noyle, who had all that athletically and then just could never put it together. I don't know who the second would be on that list. That's a good question.
We'll talk. I think I would put Ricky Seals up there, maybe, but we'll see.
You could ask some older A&M guys, and they might tell you an old name that people go, oh yeah, that they were here in the '90s. A guy named Wilbert Biggins, who had the misfortune. He was like a 5-star running back, legendary personality, but he was stuck behind. A couple guys named Greg Hill and Rodney Thomas and Leland McElroy. He would have been one that would have really benefited probably from the transfer portal back in the day.
All right, next question. You got to settle the age-old debate. Canes or Lanes? What do you got?
I'm Lanes. I grew up Lanes, like I'm College Station. Canes, I'll give them the bread though. That you can make such a good sandwich, a tender sandwich with that bread. Yeah. But Lanes is to me, that's just an A&M staple.
Sneaky pro move. Get the ranch in addition at Lanes. Unbelievable.
Okay.
Some of the best ranch I've ever had. Another age-old debate.
Both.
I like that answer.
That's nice. There we go.
I've got the Yell leaders are great. Like they're so unique to us. And my only problem with the whole deal is this: somewhere along the way, we started doing Yell practice with anybody that comes to Yell practice ever. And I've got 25 years of bringing friends from other schools to whatever degree you want to consider a celebrity, some larger than others, sports celebrities, WWE people in music, like whoever that come, friends from, they come and they're like, this is like, I've never seen anything like this. And they love watching it and experiencing it. But you see it on social media and like the closed caption or whatever they're doing. I don't like the angle where it's just the Yell leaders with no context of we all know what they're doing with the silly, corny jokes and stuff because we're all Aggies but no one else knows that. Yeah. And then we present it.
5 more weeks till the clip hits Twitter again.
Yeah. And we present it. But my thing is, I don't like the cut out the sound crowd noise is what makes it so great. And the back and forth and the response from the crowd and the angle of shooting it into those empty stands. You don't even see the crowd. So I just feel like they need to fix maybe just stop videoing it and say, if you want to see it, you have to be there.
I agree with that. Stop videotaping it.
It's great to be at. And then the Yell leaders make A&M so special. And I remember even, my dad, the first time he came to the game, he's like, your grandpa would have loved coming to this. Like my grandpa from New York, Bill Liucci, he's like, he would have been obsessed with, he wouldn't have not been able to stop going what in the hell with these guys? He would have loved it. But it's so unique to college football. And that's what makes college football great is you have these unique traditions. But I don't know why you can't also add cheerleaders. I don't think it would take away from it. I really don't. I think it would just add to it. Yeah.
How can we make that happen? Because we brought Power back. Now we can install cheerleaders.
Yeah, I'm so glad they brought Power back, by the way. But it's the best intro. That and Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech are the two best, in my opinion. But look, my biggest cause right now that I'm focusing on is I want mascot Old Sarge, and I want him at basketball. I get so pissed off every time A&M's in March Madness, and I go to the first round. So there's 8 teams. Yeah, there's 8 teams there at the regional, right? And 7 teams have a costumed mascot, and no one's above it. Michigan State, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, every school that's historically better than A&M at basketball, and all the ones that are on our level, and all the Ivy League and the the small conference, they all have a stuffed mascot running around doing this, going up, taking pictures. Hell, the MLB teams have them.
Yeah,
we don't have one. And I don't want a giant collie. We got Reveille. We don't need a stuffed fake. Give me Old Sarge with the giant mascot head and let him go tussle with Sparty. Brutus the Buckeye. We need a mascot. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
That's
and if people complain about it, screw them. It's what should be done for basketball.
I'm going to suggest also in the running with Sarge, maybe we do like an eye patch reveille after this year.
Eye patch reveille. That's been the thing this past week, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I went slower.
You're good.
Go
Next
back to
one.
rapping.
Favorite fan base you've interacted with other than obviously Aggies here?
I would say either Bama or Tennessee. Tennessee, especially. I liked them in Knoxville, except for the one guy that kept yelling at me every time I walked by during the game, like, "You suck on Netflix, you piece of shit!" Like the whole game. I'm like, man, I can't even like flip them. I'll get, like there'll be a picture, so I just smiled. But I love Tennessee, and their fans in Omaha were awesome. I think it was something about being there from Wednesday to Monday with them. It was just the only two fan bases left, and you're just at the bar with them all night for that long. And I just love that game day environment there. I would say Tennessee for me. I always get along great with, there's a couple of exceptions. We got exceptions, but LSU fans. The most shocking, though, for me was the Texas baseball series. Their fans were actually awesome.
No,
you can't do that.
Everybody's just happy to have it back. That's what we need.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of it, man. They were genuinely happy, just like we were pissed by the end of the weekend, but man, that game, that series, like the build up, it didn't feel like baseball, and it's what's going to be at Bluebell next year when they come here. It's just, it felt different. But yeah, I mean, if I had a nickel for every one of them that came up and said, "Hey, we love you on Twitter. Like we get what you're doing," or some of our people are too harsh on you. Like the guy, that one dude was like, "I think I feel you. I know what you're doing." It just was coming up talking about TexAgs or talking about what we do, and little kids that watch the podcast. It was interesting. It was an eye opener for sure. But I'm not putting them at the top of that list. It's Tennessee, the real UT, and it was. And I'd say, I don't know. Bama's fans have been pretty damn cool over the years too. I've been to almost every game over there. Had them here. I've never.
You're winning everything. It's easy to be a good fan base.
Yeah,
it is, right?
Yeah,
I feel bad.
That's true. But my first experience there was 2012.
Yeah.
And we're walking down the streets, and nobody knew that I was with another Aggie legend, the previous best quarterback at A&M, Bucky Richardson. And we're walking down the streets, and these every Alabama fan we saw was like, they were walking down there like Johnny fucking football. They're like, "That dude, you guys are amazing." And then they just partied like crazy. I was like, I thought these people would be devastated. I remember we went into Gillette's with Waka and Stripling. They were there after like their first year in MLB, the minors. And man, we still, every time I see either one of them, we bring up that night. That was a hell of an after party in Tuscaloosa. And their fans, I would have thought they'd acted like the world ended. And they're like, maybe they know what we don't, which is we're still going to win the national championship.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They knew that.
Watching that game too.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, well, if you're going to lose to somebody, that's who you want to lose.
Yeah.
But come to think of it, you might hate the A&M fan base the most with the interactions that you probably have.
I don't hate the A&M fan. The A&M fan base is my life. Like, I love them. Where I get,
Respectfully.
when I hate it is when like everyone gets mad and they just are like, "Hey, we're just gonna." It's like that meme of all the swords pointing at that guy and he's cornered like the prince. So I don't know what that is, but it's like, I didn't do anything, guys. You can do that. Get mad at me. I'll wear it. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna battle back, but it's fine. I can, if that makes you feel better, I can take it. Lord knows it's like 25 years of taking it. But no, whenever that happens, and it's like, especially with like burners on Twitter, people get confused. Like, if I got time to battle back and talk shit, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And one of these days, I'm gonna find a couple of them just for sport, and I'm gonna find them and approach them just for sport.
Billy,
but
that's a great question though. We got to ask you, how many burners do you have specifically?
Zero. Ever.
Zero.
None. Nobody believes that. I don't have a fake account on my own site. Zero socks. I had one guy that I weaponized years ago. I had to make like 2 posts. He did it, but I wanted him to just tease somebody that we knew, and his name on there was Crop Duster, and I said because I don't know what I would tell him. He always just looked like a guy that would just kind of walk by a table and fart. I was like, you're the type that would do that, you know? And so I told him your name on there is going to be Crop Duster. And I go, you should just go into these threads every once in a while. And then your tagline should be, you've been crop dusted. And then over time you can build that into a thing. But it never took. He posted like once or twice. His posts, I was like, okay, this experiment's over. This is like 15 years ago.
That checks out. Nobody likes being crop dusted. So I mean, that may be the experience you were looking for, you know?
Yeah, I thought he would intimidate people like, damn, I don't want to get crop dusted. I got to be careful what I say. But I never posted under a, one time I accidentally posted in my buddy's account who he had never posted. He was a lurker, but I was at his house and there was like some breaking news and I posted and he comes back in the other room. He's like, hey, you posted under my name. I'm like, oh shit. And I had to like, but I've never had like a fake account that I posted under. I don't do it on Twitter. Like, my God, you see as much crap as I catch from people that I have to just wear and own. Lord knows I'd be using it if I had one. I don't need it. I feel like if I'm be like Kevin Durant, like you get yourself caught with that thing eventually. So,
but he wears it. He doesn't give a shit.
That is crazy. He's like, yeah, I got burners. It's pretty wild. That is interesting. I could never do that. I would hate to get.
You gotta lean into it. Yeah. Be like, I gotta hype myself up every once in a while.
That is true. Yeah. No. There was something. Oh, this is a sidebar. But one time, and it was. This is just to tell you all the scope and the reach of TexAgs. I was at Traditions on a Sunday, and I was unhappy with my. I felt like the biscuit was undercooked, and I'm like, there's my friends over there, so I'm joking. I'm like, I could have made this at home. Like, you just put it in the oven. Like, I don't know how you undercook. It just doesn't even seem possible that I could be eating a raw biscuit right now. And these guys, my buddy Slade is getting pissed at me. He's the GM and our other friend's the owner. So I'm doing this to the G, and he's like, he's just stewing. And then I did a song, Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight, and everybody just kind of sitting there eating, and the music's in there. I'm like, I remember the biscuits. And I was like, they were so undercooked. And he just stormed off. So we go into his office later to mess with him. And they're in the club, in the pro shop, and I go and get on his computer and I log into mine and I make a post and I say, Mr. Slade's raw biscuits. I was like, Bill Slade's raw biscuits are now available at Traditions, limited time. Get in here today. There's a discount. And I immediately called him in here. I'm like, hey, there's a wild post on TexAgs. Come check this out. And he pulls it up on this giant screen in his office, and we all in there, like 5 of us. And he sees it, and he goes, that was you? And I go, yeah. So we had to delete it. So it was up for like less than 2 minutes, 90 seconds. And he gets a phone call or text, like a screenshot. And it was like, hey, is this Billy making fun of you right here? And it was from his old college roommate who was like a big military guy, way up, like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, like that high up. He's in Okinawa, Japan. Wasn't up for 90 seconds, and his actual college roommate called and said, hey, I just saw that. It was pretty funny.
They're talking shit about the biscuits down there. Come on.
Yeah. And that was off of me. That wasn't off a burner.
All right, I got to ask you about a couple other media personalities, Twitter fans. Some would say, if you had to pick, again, this is still the rapid fire segment. You got Laura Rutledge or Amanda Atwell. Who's your favorite of the sports media personalities?
Oh wow, that's a good one because Atwell's, believe it or not, as much as we don't act like it, but also do. She's a really good friend and has been for a while. But Rutledge. Amanda is fun. It's funny to me because she doesn't have the disdain, like the vitriol towards A&M that I do for Texas a lot of times. But hers is like, she's just really good at like all of us. Like if we see something that pisses us off that a Texas fan or an LSU fan saying, like wherever that threshold is that makes us go, okay, I'm going to reply and I'm going to fire back, or I'm going to go to the extent of researching something to fire back with or go. Her threshold is a lot lower, but I don't think her vitriol towards A&M can match mine towards Texas. So, and that's what she always tells me. She's like, you let that blind you and make you biased. I'm like, yeah, you're probably not wrong about that. But Rutledge and I go back. Golly, we were talking about it last week at SECs. It's got to be getting close to, not quite 15 years, 12 years, so we have our run-ins at SECs whenever they come to a game. Me, her, Jordan, Roman, whoever's in town, we go to Republic. That's our little tradition. So Rutledge she's the queen of sports media right now, as far as I'm concerned. And Super Bowls every year. You would have really had me with a tough one if you'd have said Laura or Kaylee Hartung. Kaylee.
I would say Laura. If you guys were going back 15 years, I'd say Laura might have been in college back at that time.
She was young and coming and covering A&M baseball back then, and she was really good friends with Casey Smith. So that's how so that was the original. That was the original connection. But Kaylee was covering Texas Longhorn Network, and she came up to cover the A&M spring game Johnny's year after he had won the Heisman, and a girl that used to do work for ESPN, Jen Brown, and I were really close. And it was me, Jen, Bruce Feldman, and we talked Kaylee into going to Chimmy's. And she's like, I can have one, and I got to drive back to Austin. And that was the first day I'd met her. I was like, I'll go to Chimmy's and have one. You can have one more. You can drive home on 2 margaritas, 3. And y'all know Chimmy's. And that was a daytime.
Dr. Pepper shootouts later.
And that was a daytime. And then it went the whole, needless to say, they all ended up crashing at my house. And it was, we've been friends ever since. But the night, and remember, this is 15 years ago, and the night ended where we're walking, and Johnny's on top of Shiner Park on that balcony. He yells out my name, and they're like, "Is that Johnny Manziel?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Should we go up there?" And I was like,
"Probably not."
Yeah, I mean, I would. I don't know, but and they ended up going up. It was that was the first all the way right up until I went to Omaha a day late because she came down with a couple friends of hers that I'm still friends with today. And we all went to the George Strait Parker concert at Kyle. So those two, but yeah, I think, Atwell and I are having fun with that podcast. It was actually her idea. And I was like, I know how this is going to go until we win games, but sometimes I like to not be the serious one and just loosen up and kind of like I'm doing right here with y'all. Like, I like this. I like to just kind of have fun with it and not always have to be have these serious conversations about everything. And sometimes that's where I feel like that podcast, and I'm actually going to do another one with a Aggie buddy of mine here starting, I think, in August that people are going to really like as well.
Nice, man.
Oh, I thought you were talking about us in that post.
Oh, no. Yeah, you thought you meant this actual pod. Yeah, that. I think we'd have fun. We would have fun doing this more regularly for sure. By the way, I'm gonna put Atwell ahead because sometimes she can be kind of scary. So
yeah, it's a hard decision that you got to make sure you keep it safe.
We're gonna get that one right.
All right, so just off of that, we're offering you, it's a Shark Tank proposal here.
Oh.
We're gonna offer you a 5% stake in AgKnocks if you get us an interview with Johnny. We'll call it a deal right now.
Okay. We'll see. I'll tell you what, getting a hold of him is the wildest experience because I don't generally call him because I'm like, you can go through your stretches where it's another good buddy of mine here in town, and we're like all three been good friends for, again, you're going back to 2012 and 2011 even. Johnny, he was following all those websites in high school. So when he got here, he's like a little brother to me, really, and one of my closest friends. He really is. But we could go, and this is how he is with a lot of people. Like you can go a stretch without talking to him. You could talk to him every day for weeks, a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever, and he's just got so much going on. It's crazy. So I'm always like, yeah, when he calls, and then interestingly enough, my friendship with Coach Sumlin is actually similar too. I might talk to him for a week straight, or that's who I'm trying to get on the podcast. Like, I feel like he and I would have a hell of a segment together.
He's a
Just
football
talking
mind
about.
too. That's something you gotta take in and let him roll with some film.
Someone said one thing that I thought was so right, and look, he said we did a good job at A&M. He goes, we did a good job. He's like, we just didn't do good enough. We could have got it there early on, and we almost did, and we didn't, and I couldn't get it back. Like, we did a good job. We didn't do good enough. Probably left it at a better place than when we got there. And I was like, I don't disagree with any of that. Obviously, you'd like to have some shit back, and the quarterback thing we mentioned. There's other points that are like, it's crazy sitting in my seat to go back and even at the time go, Billy, did you know did this feel like a tipping point when it happened? And you could say yes or no. Like, I felt Jimbo's tipping point was actually that year when we lost to Ole Miss and LSU to end the year, not App State. I mean, I think he could have beaten App State and still gotten fired in 6 years. Like, that was just the low point. But he could have beaten App State and won that game, and he's still fired after, because they didn't get fired that year. It was a year later, so like, it wasn't that. To me, it was like you had your chance to get over. If you beat Bama, you beat Auburn, you could have beaten Ole Miss on the road and LSU on the road, and we all know they should have won both those games. You didn't give the ball to A-Chain in the fourth, late in the game. And like, had you won those two games, you're 10-2 after winning the Orange Bowl. You're going to another New Year's Six Bowl 2 years in a row. You were lining up that 22 class, and you lost them both, and you went right back to 8-4. And I just felt like, during different coaching tenures, it's like, damn, that was the point they should have had it, and they didn't. And it's always interesting to kind of follow that through all the sports.
Yeah. No,
but we'll work on Johnny. I think he's going to have to at least be back from the Drake tour before.
He's got his hands full with the Drake tour, that's for sure.
Well, and his podcast, by the way, I really, do y'all like, it is. He's being himself, like,
yeah.
He's being himself, and he's relaxed, and he's a great conversationalist. He can kind of mix it up with anybody, especially when he's talking sports or pop culture and stuff. And that dude will talk about 90s country like he was around back then. He'll talk about movies that like that he shouldn't know. Like, I'm like, you were like not even born yet, but like, he's a real movie buff, and then also music, like, from a different era.
He'd do great with our podcast. So that 5% gets boosted to 6% if you also throw in Kevin Sumlin.
Okay, let me ask you this, because we had this discussion, and I won't say who I was having it with, because it just lead to a whole nother. I don't even want to go into it, but I was in out of town a few weeks ago and having this conversation with somebody, and we were like, we started talking to, the subject was Brad Pitt, F1, and we were like, I was like, what's the best Brad Pitt movie? And the person I'm talking to is like mid-30s, and he's like, it's got to be Ocean's 11, right? Ocean's 11, like, it's a good one.
That was what I thought off the bat, personally.
See, so y'all are that age, but I'm like, what about 7? What about, what was the other one? So there's a couple, Troy, but there was a couple that, then somebody said Meet Joe Black, but there was a couple that I really thought about where I'm like, man, nobody knows this one. Have any of y'all three seen the movie Legends of the Fall?
Know about it, but I haven't.
I heard Brad Pitt, amazing Brad Pitt movie. I would say watch it, and if you like Dan Campbell, I posed it. It was right before I interviewed Dan that I had that conversation, because there was another NFL person, and they're like, Dan said, "Oh my God, that was his answer too, right off the bat, like 100%." It's for like all the guys like your age, listen, and girls, it's a badass movie. It's kind of like Yellowstone concept before the show. Like, they're in Montana, it's his family, and they don't want to give up just the one brother. It's really a lot like a movie version of Yellowstone, but with Brad Pitt kind of like crazy, and then you got like, it's cool. Like, I would say that one. But anyway, that's just a little side story if you're movie people.
Did you watch Happy Gilmore too?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think? I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid.
I love the damn first one so much, and like, Disney, I don't know if you ever watched it, but Disney, those movies from back then. Like, Browninger liked it. I liked all the cameos.
I thought you were going to be in it at some point, like with all the
Apparently
cameos.
I was in it with this guy, the guy with the goatee. I've seen a lot of that on Twitter. What was his name? Stupid name.
I know what you're talking about.
What was his name in that? Not Dragonfly. Max. Yeah. What was it?
Maxie?
But it was something like that. It was like Maxie, but it was, yeah. But no, I like it. Was, here's my deal with movies. You go in and if you have any kind of idea, you know what you're going to watch, right? Your expectation is it's going to be this. It was a straight to Netflix movie with a million cameos. So my deal was like, just make me laugh a few times, and it definitely did. I thought my boy Trav was really good. He's got acting chops, Kelsey. He's going to end up being in, like, I think, a ton of movies when he's done playing, and just in, like, maybe a little bigger roles like than that. But I think Travis is like one of the athletes that you look at today. I don't think I'm going out on any kind of limb, but I mean, he's going to be in a lot of movies where he's done playing football.
Oh, no doubt. He's lining that up.
But Bad Bunny was the best one. But Bad Bunny was the best one, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought
I'm supposed to watch it tonight. I gotta see.
Okay. Other Billy's got to watch it. Let's wrap this up and let him go.
No, the last one we have for you, Billy, is just two-parter. Number one, gun to your head. In what year does A&M win a national championship in football again? And number two, and we're not going to post this. We're not putting the 2-0 blank blank anywhere out there.
The damn trophy.
What body part would you cut off to achieve this? You got to pick one.
Man, I don't want to say anything, then actually have to lose that part. It's like becomes.
I'll do it. I'll match you. I'll match you.
But then it becomes like irony, where like you and I are on video at one point saying, "Hey, we do this," and we end up that happens, but it's not because we won a football game, right? Like, so I'll just say like I'll do like a half a pinky. I'm not into too much. Like, I don't even have a tattoo or a piercing. The self-mutilation, I can't.
Would you put your mom in jail for 30 days?
No, not Dolores. She's here right now. She's actually she's in town. She came to the TexAgs kickoff. She loves my dog so much. She'd always stay an extra night. So we just got back from dinner. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I would sacrifice one of their body parts for an A&M title. But what year? I'm sitting here, and I hope it's before this. But I just feel like, well, we might be coming up on, the gift that everybody likes to do. That is it 83 years or 84?
100-year anniversary.
What's 1939 plus 84? So are we already past?
That's 60. Last year, I think last year was the year.
It's 61 plus, yeah, damn. Shop, never mind. That's when we won it, right? Do we have to wait now for 2039, an even 100? I think A&M wins one in the next. What year are we? 25. I'm going to really go bold here and say I think they're going to win one by 2030.
Oh, it's our century.
Yeah, I think something happens here where, like, in this new age of the playoff, maybe that's what it takes for us. Is we've expanded it out to 12. It allows us to get in, and then we make some magic. So I'll say that. But I'm going to tell you, nothing pisses me off more of a fake narrative than that damn trophy. That is the most innocuous, like, it's at a freaking donor event. Yeah. It's like you should have.
Wait, it's still there.
Well, we know now. Like, don't do that anymore. But it was it was just like, we're gonna do this as like for laughs at this thing. We just spent all this money on you. We're gonna give you this little stupid plaque like you get, when your little league team finishes in second place in the league. And it's like, we're going to hand it to you in front of people so everybody laughs. We're going to say, hey, here's your trophy. You just got to fill in the day. It wasn't meant to be like these idiots outside our fan base. And then it gets all of us like self-loathing, and we all want to turn on each other. It's like, no, they're the assholes that can't take a joke. Like, it's just a stupid like donor thing to make people in the event laugh and like, hey, we just paid you $75 million. No pressure, man. Here's your that
makes sense.
it's like, but Twitter twists and turns it so much, and it's like we almost did, and I wanted to do it. If we'd had time, I was going to do it, and I'm glad I didn't. We were going to make cups when we won the
Make the cups.
Yeah, when we run the recruiting national championship, just to piss off the LSU and to some
LSU
degree.
Tiger vibes is going to be down bad for that one.
Yeah, and we were like going to make the cups and like literally have these cups that say 2022 recruiting national champs as a total joke. But now I'm like, I'm so glad we didn't, because
they would use that for years.
Well, it'd be one thing if they were using it as a joke, but you know how many people on Twitter and these message boards would be like, oh man, I remember the time Liucci, those idiots printed cups celebrating the championship, recruiting champion, and they think, they don't realize, like, guys, it's a joke. It's just like the Texas fans and there's not many of them, because this is real low level, that really thought I'd change the music at SEC Media Days, and like really believe.
They thought it was you?
Yeah, because people were joking that it was me. SEC Network said it. A lot of people on Twitter were saying it. It's funny, right? Yeah, it had to be Liucci. I was like, yeah, it was like Ocean's 11 level of planning. Like, we really, unless it was just hitting a button on like on a freaking playlist, I wouldn't have known how to do shit. But there are Texas people that were responding, going, what kind of loser at 50 years old does some juvenile shit like that? Like, it's so lack of class. It's typical of A&M and that fan base. I'm like, yeah, it's actually like we're actually all joking except you.
Luch,
like, everyone knows it's a joke except you over here.
You're the intern at the marketing department, and I'm telling you, at a tennis match, I accidentally played Imagine Dragons instead of the national anthem. So it's way easier to happen than you think.
Which song?
It's their main one. What's the name?
Radioactive.
Yeah, Radioactive.
Radioactive. Yeah.
You can't even hear it in the press box, so it was playing for like 10 seconds, and then everyone's looking around, and I was like, oh, I don't think the wrong thing here.
That's amazing. I don't think Stark heard it, by the way. I think there's about 4 steps you have to go up, and I think for me as a coach, my biggest nightmare would be tripping and falling on remember Bielema falling before the game? Sumlin used to laugh at that so much when he's walking to the game and just trips and falls. I mean, I remember that one. I used to send that but I think he was probably scared of walking up those steps and had his head down, and probably, they make the joke that he didn't hear it much at Kyle Field because A&M didn't score. I don't like that joke. I think he just coached in the A&M Texas game one time.
Yeah.
And probably just thought it was just some music back there and got up there and probably had to be told later, like, yeah, that was the Aggie Warren. It was freaking hilarious, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an awesome moment. Well, Billy, it was awesome having you. Sorry we held you prisoner for so long, but I really do. We appreciate having you on so much. This was a great time, and you're welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to do it. This was fun, guys, and keep it up and keep going after those whales. Like I said, you just got the easiest one off the list, so good luck with the others.
But you got to help us with the rest of the whales. We'll just keep handing out equity.
I want my 5 or 6%, so I'll work on that one.
It's yours. Thanks, Billy. We appreciate it, man.
Okay, let's keep having fun. See y'all.
All right.